Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League, where tonight we bring you our Brickyard 200 from the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, one of the crown jewel races of NASCAR, and now the College Cup Series. As the spring 2023 regular season winds down, the drama turns up for the penultimate race before our first ever College Cup Series playoffs. Seven drivers from six different schools have locked their way into the playoffs, which leaves only three spots up for grabs, and we'll see if that changes tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight as I'm your host, Zach Lindler, alongside Alex Gagnon in the booth. And Alex, after last week's incredible race at Phoenix and the playoffs looming in the near distance, we're setting ourselves up for one of the most exciting races of the season.
Yeah, there is so much anticipation coming into this race, Zach. I mean, not only do you have the folks battling for the playoffs, but also, I mean, this is Indy, man. This is one of the biggest, not only biggest tracks in length that the CIL is going to race on all year, but also biggest in terms of prestige. I mean, even if it's on the virtual servers here of iRacing, you always want to say you picked up a win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And with only two races to go in the regular season here, this could force a lot of people to be making moves they might not normally do if it helps them qualify for the Cup Series playoffs. So I think we're going to be in for a real treat tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned the playoffs. Only 2 rounds left in the regular season. Like I said, we've got seven winners, so seven drivers have already locked their way into the playoffs, and there's three, I guess you could call them points spots up for grabs for non-winning drivers. We could see a new winner tonight. We could see a repeat winner, but either way, the playoff grid is going to get shaken up for that battle for that top 10, those last three spots in the top 10. But we got tonight Indianapolis, and then next week for the regular season championship, we go to Talladega. And I know for a lot of drivers in their minds, the regular season basically ends tonight for them because Talladega is such a toss-up race. You know, you have an equal percentage of both winning that race and wrecking out of it. So a
Hmm.
lot of drivers are really trying to get prepared for next week by not having to worry about the outcome of the race.
Yeah, the best way to prep for Dega is to not need Dega to get your way into the postseason. So, great point that a lot of people here are looking at this could be the final race that they really have a lot of control over the outcome of, because with how much of a coin toss super speedway racing like Talladega can be, this is the last one really where it's much more in the driver's hands with as far as consistency is concerned to really potentially get their way in. And a lot of there's going to be a lot of attention on a couple of people tonight, I think, particularly those hanging kind of right around the point line, both in the top 10 as far as pointing their way into the playoffs, and also that bottom 20 bracket as far as a couple of winners who might fall out of the top 20 eligibility picture if they don't have a good run here this evening.
That is that is one of the qualifying criteria for the College Cup Series playoffs is you have to finish in the top 20 on regular season points at the time of the cutoff. So for two of our drivers, Santiago Tires out of UNC Charlotte and Robbie Vrabel Jr. out of St. Clair College in Canada, they're running part-time schedules this season, but both of them have at least one win. In fact, Santi is currently on top of the playoff standings as the only repeat winner this season. And Vrabel also has secured his win to get a spot into the playoffs, but they are currently sitting 17th and 18th in the standings, and they're going to need some good results from tonight's race to be able to stay eligible for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. When you only have a handful of points as your cushion, I mean, you can't really afford to have a poor showing here. And even though, we were talking about Indy has less unpredictability compared to like Talladega, which is our regular season finale. The last time the College Cup Series was here, it turned into quite the wild card race with that massive pileup going into turn one. Granted, that was quite some time ago. That was fall 2021. That was season 3 of College Cup Series action. This is season 7 now here in the spring of 2023. So a lot of time has passed between that moment and now, but there's definitely a few vets in the field who are definitely going to have that in mind as they go around this 2.5 mile oval today, knowing that even though this should be a bit more of a normal track than Talladega. It can still jump out and get you when you least expect it.
Oh, without a doubt, especially with the front stretch being you got walls on both sides. That was actually where that big one happened. I believe that is the biggest wreck in CIL history, at least from car count and involvement.
I believe so. It
I think
literally took out
by a long
everyone from
shot.
like 15th to like 40th. I mean, it was almost the entire field.
Yeah, but if you've got two cars that are wrecking on the front stretch and then they bounce off that inside wall, they could come back into traffic and collect more drivers. It just creates a blockade going into turn one. So a lot of our veteran drivers have talked about that. That's been at the back of their minds of, this is on the back stretch. It's pretty self-clearing, and in the short chutes between the corners on this square-shaped racetrack. Um, but on that front stretch, it's not going to be as clean as you think.
Yeah, no, it can definitely get a little dicey if you're not careful here. Right now, the drivers are just starting to wrap up qualifying, it would seem. We are just doing a little reboot of the old system here, making sure everything's ready and good to go. So we will bring that back up once everything is functioning and cooperating the way it should be. But in the meantime, we do still have some info that we can share as far as the standing. I know it's not up on the screen, but we could, if you want, Zach, run through some of the top qualifiers here that we see on our screen in front of us at the moment that we can share with the viewing audience.
Yeah, I'm looking at these standings, and it looks like the Villeneuve clause is coming to fruition tonight. Out of our top 6 drivers, we have 3 pairs of identical qualifying times down to the 100th. So currently on provisional pole, the O2 of Zach DeWale from St. Clair College. He is not qualified for the playoffs yet off of wins, so this pole position would mean a lot to him. His time of 53.15 also set by the 76 of Jason Wallet from Drexel University. Our Daytona 250 champ. Looking back at third place, tied between Rhett Crane and Jake Drew, current ARCA Menard Series West champion, making his return to the CIL again this season. Both of them ran a 53.17, only 200ths off of the leaders' times. And then looking back, another 200ths is Jeremy Millerin from Purdue University in that 100 machine. He is our current CIL alumni champion. He sets a 53.19 alongside Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte in that 07. And it looks like Robbie Vrabel Jr. has just gone top of the tower with a 53.03, over a tenth faster than P2 and P3. That is an unbelievable lap time from Vrabel.
That is a heater, especially for a man who's trying to stay above that top 20 eligibility line. It's a great way to get it going. I mean, a 53.03, blazingly fast, over a second faster than several other cars in the field. I mean, he could be one of the ones to keep an eye on here, because not only is he quick, but he's motivated.
Yeah, he's definitely more motivated than a lot of these drivers in the field, but some of the most motivated drivers are going to be the drivers who are trying to stay above that playoff cut line. Jared Kaler plus 46 points to the good. Zach DeWale, 39 points to the good. Andrew Williams, Clemson University, 25 points to the good in that 10th position as the playoff standings are right now. But it's some of the drivers that are going to be even more motivated than them. Jake Cummings from Wingate, 25 points below the cut line. Colin Kolpa, Indiana University, someone who's had a breakout season this year. In the past, we've usually talked with him in the midfield, upper midfield, but especially recently, that number 006 from Indiana University has come to life. He sits 28 points below the cut line. And then Matthew Burton in that 85 is 34 points below the cut line. So everything's still on the line as we wind down this regular season. And I believe the qualifying grid is set. Alex, let's see how they line up.
Yeah, so it is going to be Robbie Vrabel leading them to the green flag here today for St. Clair College. His teammate, Zach DeWale, to his outside as they line up on the front row. Jason Wallet for Drexel University is currently sitting in P3 alongside Rhett Crane from Ball State, looking to bounce back from a rough race at Phoenix. Jake Drew for Fullerton College rolls off 5th alongside Jeremy Millerin out of Purdue. Clint Halterman for UNC Charlotte will roll off 7th. Muhammad Ali, last week's winner at Phoenix, he is rolling off 8th. Ninth is going to be Tim Robb out of American University, alongside Jake Cummings out of Wingate, currently sitting just behind the playoff line in terms of points. Garrett Viton currently sits 11th for Arizona State, alongside the alumni Matthew Nordberg for North Carolina State. In 13th, it is Brandon Schulenberger for Wingate University. 14th is North Texas's Edwin Onofre. 15th, it is Athena LeClaire for St. Clair College, alongside Jared Kaler for UNC Charlotte, who also is looking for his first win of the season. Austin DeLong rolls off 17th for the Penn College of Technology, alongside Connor Levy for Arizona State in 18th. And rounding out row 10, it is Jacob Wiest for UNC Charlotte, alongside Purdue's Andrew McCall.
Looking at the back half of the grid, Andrew Burrow from Clemson University will start in row 11 alongside Nick Stockner, his teammate, also from Clemson University. Matthew Burton in the 31 from East Tennessee State, looking at the potential playoff bid here on points, 34 points below the cut line. He will start 23rd. Esteban Munoz from FIU will roll off 24th. Bradley Daniels from Robert Morris University, the alumni, will start 25th, and he's got his teammate Treston Yoder in the Cal car to his outside, starting 26th. Andrew Williams from Clemson University, another one of our contenders for the playoffs who has yet to find victory lane this season. Not very good qualifying for him. He'll start 27th to the inside of Michael Sidor from the Penn College of Technology. Matt Stawecki from James Madison University will roll off 29th. Alexander Hogarth from St. Clair College will roll off 30th. Ryan Wilson, Minnesota State Mankato, 31st. Ethan Head from UT Knoxville, 32nd. Timothy Williams from Drexel University will start 33rd. Andrew Stagey from Ball State will start 34th. And our final row, Dylan Godinez, all by himself. Scott Ratliff is the producer. Not sure how he's racing. Don't believe
he's doing
a
little multitasking, don't you know?
We do a little multitasking here, but I'm looking at that grid, and one name I do not see is Santiago Tires.
Yeah, big absence there. The UNC Charlotte driver, the only multi-win driver this season. He's only 17th in points, so if he's not here, that'll be likely chalked up as a DNF for him. And because of it, that could really shake up the playoff order, potentially dropping him out of the top 20, and then all of a sudden opening up another points spot for someone to maybe point their way into the postseason.
And wouldn't that be something? I believe we're going to work on some permutations here in a few minutes for the drivers that currently sit below Santi in the point standings. There's a few of them that I believe could catch him with good results today and knock him out of the top 20. But for the time being, we are about to go green at the CiL Brickyard 200. The pace car currently going through turn 4, makes that hard left onto pit road. Eventually, there it goes. We're stacked up 2 by 2. We got a long ride down the front stretch before they hit that restart zone. You can see Barney in the flag stand throws that green, and we are racing here at the Brickyard.
Inside positioning and uses it to rocket ahead to a nice healthy lead coming off of turn number 2. He, coming off of the pole position, looks like he will be in charge of this race at the start. Zach DeWale holding on the second. Jason Wald and Rhett Crane currently battling for the final spot of that podium, with Jake Drew hanging in the wings, waiting to see how this one unfolds as the caution is out. For the first one is already out. Oh, Daniels backwards in turn number 4. We'll have to see what happened there, but that RMU machine facing the wrong direction. Michael Sidor looks like he had to get towed back to pit road. Speaking of pit road, actually, Jared Kaler, currently the highest ranked points finisher who hasn't gotten a win yet this season, had to start this race from pit road. Not entirely sure what happened there, but that could certainly affect his chances here today. But maybe the restart here might actually bail him out a little bit as we take a second to look at what happened here.
You can see them already. A couple cars. I think I saw the 86 of.
Let's say Timothy Wilms was involved.
Timothy Wilms involved.
That car's not facing the right way. Let's see what happened here. So looks like Daniels is to the inside of Michael Sidor here. and they both kind of just ran out of real estate. Looks like Daniels was trying to come up out of the corner, and Sidor did not come out of the corner nearly as much as the 521 thought he was going to, and around they go.
Yeah, and that's just an instance of hard racing between two drivers. Obviously, you're gonna want to get aggressive on this initial race start and these restarts to try and get as many positions as possible. But that's two cars jockeying for the same piece of real estate, and you know the laws of physics and reality exist, so you can't have two cars in the exact same spot. So right on board with Ethan Head who had a really good view of that incident.
Yeah, I had to make sure he got down and away as Sidor was coming down the track after that one. No damage done, though. It looks like to that nice black and orange number 8 car for Tennessee Knoxville, and his battle today will continue. But definitely not the way you want to start if you're Michael Sidor or Brad Daniels. I mean, not getting around the track even once is definitely a rough start to things, but I mean, you know, that sometimes is what happens on these restarts where everything gets super congested, especially at Indy, where there's not a ton of width to work with in these corners. Like, it's a big track, but it's a narrow track.
Yeah, there's maybe 1.5 racing lines around this track. It's relatively wide, it's very long, but there's only one good way to get around the track if you're in that, and that's the inside of these corners. It's such a unique configuration where, at least going back to season 3, when I believe you and me both ran the Indy race, that infamous Indy race, we can attest to that and say if you get hung out to dry on that outside line on this restart, you got to hope and pray that a hole will open up on that inside line that you can get in, because if you're trying to make that pass to the outside, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, you end up the loser there. I remember very specifically back to that previous race when we were running it. I decided I was trying to get up front on some track positions, so I stayed out on old tires, restarted a second, and then immediately got shuffled by everyone on the fresh tires, and within a lap, I was back to like 18th. I said, oh, this was a mistake. So.
Yeah, going back to you mentioned Jared Kaler did have a pit start. We're not 100% sure if that pit start was assessed by the stewards or if it was a self pit start.
It's entirely possible. Maybe he just either missed the grid time or accidentally had the back out once he had already gridded. Those are 2 reasons why you'd end up with a pit start, at least on the user end. I can't imagine there'd be any stewarding reason why he had to, unless there was some qualifying issue, but it's not group quali, so it wouldn't be like you're affecting anybody else. So.
Yeah, good point.
The mystery remains, I suppose, but they are relined up 2 by 2, and as they take to the backstretch here, we're about half a lap away from getting this one going again.
Speaking of race control, they have deemed the contact between Sidor and Daniels to be a racing incident, so no action there. But the field is once again stacked up 2 by 2. We got about a half a lap or 3/4 of a lap of green flag racing in, so the drivers were at least able to get their tires warmed up a little bit. So hopefully this next restart will be a little more exciting. We'll have nice hot tires on the cars, still racked up side by side. A lot of these drivers, although we did see it go single file relatively quickly, hopefully these warmer tires will contribute to better racing that we'll see in the early stages of this green flag. But still very early in this race, a lot of moves to be made. Playoff pressure still on the line for a lot of these drivers. Robbie Vrabel Jr., your pole sitter for this restart, and he's got a teammate in Zach DeWale who has yet to find victory lane this season after a season of success last time around. I believe DeWale and Vrabel are going to work together a lot on this restart to try and get DeWale up to the front. But the drivers are going to hit the restart zone. Barney throws the green, and an early move by the 696 of Jake Drew to the inside. 3 wide into turn 1 on the restart.
Gutsy move there by the former ARCA West Series champ, Jake Drew. Saw that I think Wallet maybe didn't have the best restart and said, all right, I'm not waiting for you, and immediately dove to the inside, still trying to make the pass work. Off turn 2. But definitely I commend the bravery to make the move that early into the run there. That was quite the sight. I was not expecting it, and I'm sure Jason Wallet wasn't really expecting it either. But he's done a good job to hold on to the battle on the outside here.
Either Drew got the jump of the century on that restart, or Wallet did not get a good restart there, but that was a great move from Jake Drew to get alongside. He almost had that position, but Jason Wallet able to pull it back on the outside, and it looks like Jake Drew is going to get some help from the Purdue machine behind. I believe it's Jeremy Millerin going to use the draft and send it to the inside. Jake Drew gets distracted, lets Wallet go on the outside, and loses 2 positions right there because of that move from Jeremy Millerin from Purdue University. He's now to the inside of the Drexel car, that number 76, and they're going to go at it down the back straightaway.
Yeah, but they're getting a clean run off the back there, Wallet and Jake Drew, and with no drafting help from Miller, and he could find himself. Yeah, ends up losing the position back to Drew and have to slot back in line ahead of Jake Cummings. As now Clint Halterman and Muhammad Alif go side by side. This is a battle for the 8th position here. Tim Robb and Garrett Byton hanging out just behind them. They're also side by side as they're trying to figure out this way around the course. It is really tough to tell sometimes who's going to get the better run off the corner, because the inside typically would get the better run, but if there's a car already ahead of you on the outside wall there, you can take that draft help and just roar down one of these long front or back stretches here at Indy. So definitely a little strategy that's coming into play early as far as where do you want to position yourself and who's around you.
Yeah, and you've also got to be thinking about the tires. Indianapolis, this old racing surface is infamous for chewing up tires. So, yeah, you want to get aggressive. You want to try and get as many positions as you can on this start, but you don't want to use up too much of your tires. I believe, looking at my race strategy here, I've got this as a one-stop race, anywhere from lap 35 to lap 45. You're going to see a lot of these drivers coming down pit road, maybe a little bit earlier or later, depending on strategy. But if this race goes green from here on out, you're going to be able to split it right in half with your tire strategy. One green flag stop, in and out, and then go for the rest of the race.
Yeah, now it looks like Tim Robb thought about diving down, looking to try and get past Muhammad Alif. Not anything going there, but he certainly thought about it. Now he's going to have to slot back in and play some defense here as that Arizona State car of Garrett Byton all over the back of them as they come off of the definitely a lot of cars trying to figure out where they want to be running right now, but with how these the draft kind of operates here, you're going to see a lot of these single file like chains down the front and back stretch with the occasional car dipping in and out, going in and out of the corners, trying to make that run once they get all that extra speed coming through the draft.
Yeah, the draft is very powerful here, and you did mention that earlier on a couple minutes ago. This front and back stretch are almost 3/4 of a mile long each. As you can see, Zach DeWale in that second place, trying to break the draft to Rhett Crane, Jason Wallet, and Jake Drew behind. Is now Jake Drew has reestablished himself only temporarily underneath the 76 of Jason Wallet, and that sends the 696 a little bit wide, and the 100 of Millerin is now going to make his way around the defending ARCA West Series champion, or maybe not so fast. Jake Drew got a really nice exit out of the corner that time and was able to get a good run on the 100 down the back straightaway. No toe help from any driver ahead for either of them, and there Millerin is able to complete the pass.
Oh, but Drew's
a
great switchback there
from the 696 as he's going to look to the inside of the Purdue machine and try to return the favor. They almost make contact coming out of turn 4, and they're back out on the front straightaway, vying for position. Look at that side draft from Jake Drew. Once again, DeWale breaking the
side draft. He almost leaned on him.
Yeah, using the sides of the cars as bumpers down the straightaway, and they almost touched there again.
These guys not giving each other an inch. A little wiggle there out of the 696 trying to get through that corner. They remain side by side. This is one heck of a battle for the 5th position right now. Jeremy Millerin on the outside in that gray and blue car representing Purdue University. Jake Drew on the red and black car on the inside representing Fullerton College. Right now, if you're like Jake Cummings or Tim Robb behind, you're just kind of watching this, figuring out like, all right, who's going to be the one that ends up making the move here, finally getting the position, and then try and follow them through. But it's anybody's guess on who's going to win it right now. I mean, these guys are inches apart as they've pinned for laps. Oh, and they're wrecking behind them.
Cummings in the wall.
Jake Cummings, Garrett Byton, Tim Robb also in the wall. That is calamity for Jake Cummings' playoff chances right there. He needed a good run today to potentially boost himself into a points position, especially with Santi Perez not being here. That is definitely a rough go for Jake Cummings out of Wingate University.
Massive, massive playoff implications for Jake Cummings' chances for a shot at the top 10. He was 25 points behind Andrew Williams, and as it sat, he would have overtaken that 10th position. Drew Williams running below the 20th position right now. But Jake Cummings, after it looks like he got a piece of that outside wall after maybe some contact with the 5 of Tim Robb, had a hard lick to the inside wall, which may have ended his day. Unfortunately, there you see the 5 and the 95 side by side. 95 closes the 5 down into space, and just a little contact right there between the 5 and the 95.
Yeah,
sends both of them to the inside.
They were both really running each other close, and just a little bit of contact here or there, and they kind of pinballed off each other. They both ended up in the wall, and they collected a couple of other cars with them, including the 42 of Viton, and I think that was Clint Halterman who was also caught up as a piece of that.
I think I saw the 07. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think he probably got a little bit of contact there, but of the 4 cars involved, he definitely got the best end of it because he somehow kept going at nearly full speed.
If he didn't make contact, I would be extremely surprised. Let's see it here. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty heavy contact off the 5, but Viton hitting Jake Cummings ended up clearing the way for Halterman to get through the rest of that unscathed. His car doesn't look too worse for wear, though, at least off the initial camera shot there, so he might be able to keep going with pretty good pace.
Yeah, not a ton of damage to the front bumper of that Niner Esports machine, so he'll be able to keep it out there and keep it running, but Tim Robb and Jake Cummings, obviously the biggest losers out of that exchange. Hopefully they'll be able to get their cars back down pit road, maybe with a short tow assistance, and get those cars back out on track.
Yeah, you'd like to see it, especially for Jake Cummings. I mean, he has put together a very quiet but a very strong season. I mean, he only has 1 top 5, but he's got 4 top 10s this season, including 3 of his last 4 races. Like, he was definitely trending upward, and really had a pretty good shot, I think, to potentially be one of the cars fighting for the playoffs here. So hopefully he can get back on track and keep that battle alive, because that would be a devastating way to fall into a really deep hole going toward Talladega.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the points before this race. Viton was 28 points below the cut line for 20th place to be playoff eligible. So he needed a good race as well, just in case he had one last Hail Mary at Talladega or even tonight to try and win his way into the playoffs. But those chances just took a pretty big hit, as well as him.
Yeah, Tim Robb already locked in, though, with his win a few weeks ago when he picked up the win at Las Vegas. So he's, I'm sure, not thrilled with the way that incident took place on track, but he can at least rest a little easier than a couple of the other guys involved, knowing that he still should probably be locked in, because I can't imagine, even if he doesn't finish this race, he'll still be probably pretty good on points. So that was caution number 2. As the lights are out on the pace car here, they will be going green in just a moment. It is still Robbie Vrabel Jr. up front, as it has been for most of the evening, alongside Zach DeWale. The front row remains the same. Second row remains the same as well, with Rhett Crane and Jason Wallet. And then that third row is where things get interesting, of Jeremy Millerin and Jake Drew, as Millerin's like shoving Rhett Crane down the backstretch here.
I think Millerin's having a little fun with the back bumper of that Ball State machine, doing a little, hey, go on and pull up a little bit. I got some places to move here.
Yeah, he's a man who's trying to be on a mission right now. And I mean, that's a guy who also, I mean, he was the last year's alumni champion, but still looking for a potential playoff opportunity of his own. He didn't have a great start to the season. He's run a little bit better in recent weeks, but he easily has the speed to potentially win his way in here with a good run either today or at Talladega.
Yeah, he had a great race last week at Phoenix. As we're going to go on board with for this restart with Jake Drew. We're going to go quiet a little bit so y'all can pay attention to what goes on out of the front of this machine. But Jake Drew, obviously a very skilled driver, as the drivers are going to hit the restart zone. Barney throws the green flag. Enjoy the show, folks. you can see just how huge that run is down the back straight, down these long stretches with the draft, as Jake Drew was able to get right up to the rear bumper of the 76 machine of Jason Wallet. And it wasn't quite the CiL full send, but going up through the gears is always one of the most beautiful sounds in motorsports. Here, and as that Miller just been around,
no,
that's McCall.
That's Andrew McCall. The other Purdue car is around, back coming off of turn 4.
And he keep it off the wall.
That front looks a little pancaked in. That is either from the wall or maybe another vehicle. But yeah, I think he got a little bit of damage up front. Something happened to the 018. Not entirely sure. We'll have to check the replay and see what happened to him. But that was McCall around, and looks like
might have had some help. Might have had some help from Stockner in that Clemson machine behind. You know, Purdue and Clemson haven't necessarily been on the best terms for their entire existence in the CiL, and yeah, it looks like just two cars fighting for position again.
Whole lot of car-on-car action there coming off of turn 4. Yeah, if I'm Andrew McCall, I am not thrilled at the moment. Let's see. I would like to see if we could maybe rewind a little deeper into the corner to see if it was McCall coming down in front of Stockner or Stockner trying to stick his way in at the last second.
Yeah, because I looked at Stockner's exit line, and he didn't wash up a whole ton. In fact, he was pretty far off the wall coming off the corner. So you can see this is going into turn 4. Stockner just got to run to the inside and
kind of tapped him in that weak part of the corner where, you know, there's not a whole lot of stability whenever that part jostles around a little bit. Real easy to lose the back tires when you get kind of catch a corner like that. So certainly a bit of a racing down. I mean, Stockner probably could have let off that run a little bit, but also, you know, if you are Andrew McCall, I mean, he did start drifting up the lane a little bit, so I'm curious to see which way the stewards evaluate that one.
Yeah, and the race control has deemed Nick Stockner in that 124 to be at fault for that incident. So Stockner will be restarting from the tail end of the field. Another stewards report the lap 10 incident between Rob and Cummings. That was deemed a racing incident, like the lap 1 incident. So yeah, those Clemson and Purdue cars never really seem to get along they never seem to play nice on track. They're always racing each other a little harder than usual than any other school, but always makes for great battles. But at some point you find the limit in there. Nick Stockner, just an unfortunate mistake there. He had the move to the inside and just, like you said, made contact with the one no zone on that back bumper that sent the 018 for a spin.
So there is Stockner taking his end-of-line penalty. He will be restarting at the tail end of the longest line here. As we are approaching lap 17, I mean, bit of green, bit of cautions so far. Overall, though, I'd imagine, Zach, these tires are probably still in pretty decent shape.
Yeah, they're still in good shape, but this will be the 4th restart or start of the race. And especially on a track like this, starts and restarts take a lot of toll on the tires. So I'm thinking if we see a caution before lap 40 here, if we see a caution before lap 35 in this next stint, I think you're going to see a lot of drivers coming down pit road as you see the field stacking up 2 by 2 again. Lights on the pace car have gone off, so this is the one to go.
One noticeable change up in the front 5 there in that short stint. Millerin did get past Jason Willott, so now he restarts on that second row behind Zach DeWale. So the front row remains the same, but now Millerin a little closer to potentially taking the lead here in this race. Also, Rhett Crane still very much in contention here in 3rd.
Yeah, still a St. Clair lockout on the front row, and it has been for this entire race. Robbie Vrabel has led every single lap. Has led 17 out of 17 in this race, but Zach DeWale behind him has done a great job at keeping the rest of the field at bay. I think I saw where during that last stint, Vrabel had pulled out to an over 2-second lead over DeWale. So
it's also worth noting that Vrabel and Millerin, I do believe, are 2 of the contenders for the Alumni Championship. So definitely some interesting dynamics to be potentially at play there as well.
Yeah, and you know those two are going to race each other harder. Now that they got a, not only do they both have a shot. Well, Milleren's got a shot at making the playoffs. Vrabel's already in the playoffs, but with the alumni championship between these two on the line, there's definitely a little something sweeter for these two drivers.
What is going on back there?
We're going to take a look at that, but first we're going to cover this restart. And Robbie Vrabel Jr. did not get a very good restart as the 100 got all over the back bumper of Zach DeWale. But we're going to go and check. I think
I think they cautioned that one. I think they tried getting it before the restart, and Stewart just a little too slow to be able to make it happen before the restart. But definitely the right call there, because like what?
Yeah.
What happened there? They're coming to the restart, and all of a sudden multiple cars are bidding it off of 4, which has been a bit of the trouble spot so far this evening. But instead of going at 160 miles an hour, you're going like 80.
60.
Yeah.
I think it was the 99 of Onofre.
And
Esteban Munoz.
These are
FIU and UNT.
Pretty good drivers. I would not have expected anything like that. I'm trying to figure out how this could have. I mean, this happens way up in the.
This is inside
Esteban goes like way across. He just. Oh wait, it gets jacked up behind him.
It's like he missed a gear or something.
Yeah, all of a sudden he gets contact from behind. The line behind him checks up because they all make contact with the 9, and the 9 gets launched into that inside lane. But there was a pretty big gap ahead of Munoz. So I don't know if he missed a shift or just wasn't paying attention to where the line. I don't know what happened there, but Matthew Nordberg more or less just ran him over. Yeah, I mean he slows down noticeably.
Yeah, Nordberg keeps up with the rest of the field, and Munoz, he had to have missed a gear or something, or missed a shift or something, because that car just looped around obviously with help from Nordberg, and you got to feel bad for the 99 of Edwin Onofre, just caught up as collateral.
Yeah,
I mean he can do there, but this is two strong drivers that have got damage now.
Yeah, I don't know what on earth happened there.
Hey, missed a gear. That's what it sounded like.
It looks like we had some takers for pit road as well, or if that was just the cars caught up in the incident. So it is the folks with damage who came down to pit road. Yeah, still a little early for everyone still running cleanup on the lead lap here to have to come in. So I was going to say, there's not really much to say. I mean, this is the same restart order for the most part as the last one, just take 2 better than the first, maybe? Yeah, minus like row, I want to say like it was like 6 or so.
Probably like row 5 or 6 or 7, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, somewhere right around the top 10 area.
But just to add insult to injury, if car 9 makes it out by the time we go green, he will be restarting at the back of the pack. He was assigned fault for that collision.
That's fascinating. I'm so morbidly curious on what happened there.
That's a very rare mistake. From not Munoz. Yeah, Munoz.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some of the biggest movers that we've had on track here. Starting off with the University of Tennessee Knoxville's Ethan Head. He is up 15 places from where he started. So in this opening quarter of the race, that car has been on the move. He's up to 17th, all the way back from 32nd.
Andrew Williams, he started, I believe, 27th. And he's worked his way. He's gotten 14 positions since the start of the race. So that Clemson driver has a mission right now to try and score as many points as he can to stay above the cut line. And he's doing quite well.
You got Ryan Wilson out of Minnesota State Mankato. He is plus 13 as well. He is all the way up inside the top 20 after starting 31st or 32nd. Currently running in the 18th position. And then it's the cow car.
Cow car, Treston Yoder from Robert Morris University. I got it right this time. He's plus 12 positions since the start of this race. So, Alex, we've got a lot of cars that are on the move up towards the front of the field. These drivers know their mission. They know their task. They know that pretty much everything is on the line tonight so that they don't have to worry about the Talladega race in a week. So we've seen very aggressive driving. We've seen some strategy calls as well. maybe with Kaler in his pit road start, and he's worked his way up to 15th as well. So he's done quite well reintroducing himself into the mix. But these drivers are I know they're itching for a long green flag stint, and I think we've gotten all the jitters and the nerves out at this point. Hopefully no more big mistakes out of some of our drivers up front. We'll be able to get some green flag racing here. But once again, the field is stacked up 2 by 2. St. Clair continues their front row lockout. Robbie Vrabel Jr., Zach DeWale on the front row. Rhett Crane, Jeremy Miller in row 2. Jason Wallet, Jake Drew, row 3. Alif, Athena LeClaire has worked her way into the top 10. Matt Nordberg and Connor Levy will round out the top 10. Pace car makes that hard left onto pit road. Barney's got the green flag in hand. And Vrabel hits the restart zone, and we are back to green flag racing at Indy. Once again, Robbie Vrabel Jr. gets a great restart. Zach DeWale pulls in right behind him, and Jeremy Millerin has now worked his way into that third position. The Purdue machine able to get around both Jake Drew and a couple of other cars there inside the top 5 to take that third position away. Still some more action here, as I believe that's Muhammad Alif going to town on Jason Wallet for the 8th position on track. Can't quite get that pass done, but is going to use that toe down the front stretch. That draft into turn 1, maybe going to present an attack here. No, but that is Rhett Crane. Another Ball State machine went wide through the center of 1 and 2, maybe dealing with some tighter conditions on these race cars as the tires grow a little older.
Yeah, now we've got ourselves a bit of a battle here for second place as well. Miller has clawed up to the back of Zach DeWell, and he goes way to the inside trying to make this move down the backstretch. Looks like he might have the corner on him here as he dives into turn 3. DeWale stuck on the outside. Jake Drew trying to follow him through. He's going to come up right to the corner of DeWale, but they're both going to keep it clean. And now diving in the 4 here, it is Jake Drew battling with DeWale, but Millerin has cleared them both, and he is now trying to chase down Robbie Vrabel. A couple of the alumni trying to show the students how it's done here as they currently run 1-2, entering lap 23.
And that 100 machine is the happiest driver on the track right now because now he gets to take a whack at Robbie Vrabel Jr. for the lead. Looking back towards some of the this top 5 battle still going as Zach DeWale has almost completely fallen. He's fallen back to 4th. Both Millerin and Jake Drew have gotten around him, and now the battle for the 5th position is still Jason Wallet on the 6th machine of Rhett Crane with Muhammad Alif, his teammate, looking right behind him. But Alif has a rear view mirror full of Matt Nordberg right now. That NC State machine going to try and make a move here, or maybe being a little patient as we're just over a quarter of the way through the race.
Yeah, if there's one thing we can say with Matt Nordberg's race so far today, it's been a little unorthodox with that whole situation with Esteban Munoz. Oh, they're spinning on the front stretch. What happened? Matthew Parton's getting Beybladed down the front straightaway. Looks like Austin DeLong might have been involved. Oh, please don't get any bigger than this. This is dangerously close to being reminiscent of season 3 CiL. Oh, boy. That's a rough place to back up there, Burton.
Don't do that, man.
Well, we're going to have to
Good heads up by the, I think that's the 20 of Alexander Hogarth.
Yeah.
To slam on the brakes and stay out of the 31.
Him and it might have been Timothy Wilms. It starts here with Burton, Tim Robb, and Treston Yoder. It looks like the Cal car might have slid up the track a little bit against that 31 car for ETSU.
And the 22 of Austin DeLong from Penn College of Technology also collected there. And I think I saw the 018 of Andrew McCall with a late hit as well. And, who is that just squeezed by the 31 or the 22? It's the 808 of Dylan Godinez. Just barely squeezed his way by as the 22 was trying to throw it in gear and get out of Dodge.
Yeah, I'd like to see if we could what the catalyst was. I wonder if it was just the 09 that drifted up or if there was just not a lot of room.
think it was just 2 cars fighting for the side draft.
It might have been. I know right around that point that got 3 wide with I think it was DeLong who was down low on the 2 of them, but that was just two cars with no more real estate to give.
And car 09 has been assessed the end of line penalty as cause of caution.
Oh, sorry. When I said DeLong on the inside, I meant Tim Robb was the one who helped make it 3 wide there. DeLong, an innocent bystander in that, who gets caught up in the collision.
Working on lap 25, about to be lap 26 of our Brickyard 200 here in the College Cup Series. If you're just joining us, you've missed a lot of chaos, a lot of caution, and it looks like some pit strategy here. You joined at the right time. Let's see who's going to take nobody.
Oh.
Robbie Vrabel Jr. tried to bait everyone on pit road, backed out at the last second, and good reactions from Jeremy Millerin, Jake Drew, Zach DeWale, and everybody else behind to not get sucked up in the bait. But we do see some cars at the back of the field stopping down pit road, presumably to repair their damage. Actually, most of the back half of the field has come down pit road.
It looked like everyone from Yoder on back comes in the pit lane. Not surprised there for the 09. You already had the end of line. May as well get the thing patched up because you're already going to be toward the back of the field. But looks like a lot of the cars behind him used it as an opportunity maybe to try and mix up the strategy a little bit here and maybe make up some ground on the current leaders.
The top 17 stayed out, but everybody else came to pit road. So this is interesting from a strategy standpoint because I think the back half of the field made the correct call. Coming down to pit road right there was smart. Yeah, we've already seen a lot of these drivers are struggling with tighter conditions in these cars as a result of tire wear. I'd be interested to see the numbers of the tires that have just come off of those cars. But these front cars, these leaders are going to have a tough time when these fresh tires come screaming up through the pack. But that I think going into pit road, going in for service there was the correct call. But I'm interested to see how this plays out for the rest of the race.
I am too. It's honestly like this could be a prime opportunity for with the race, the way this race has been going. I mean, obviously it has been a pretty start and stop affair through the opening 26 laps. And I have a feeling a lot of people in the back of the field are probably guessing it's going to continue to be that way. Of which this strategy, I think, works perfectly in their hands if that's the case.
Yeah, those drivers who pitted that time by, they're gonna hope and pray that a caution comes out sometime after, say, lap 65, because those tires are only going to last at most 45 laps. They will not be able to get it to the end of the race on tires. So everybody in the field still needs at least one more stop to get to the end of the race. But if you're at the back, you don't want to caution until the end of the race. If you're up at the front, you want to caution to come out relatively quickly because now all the cards are on the table from a lot of these drivers. Something else that I'm thinking about is the drivers at the back of the field that pitted, they have teammates that are running out on track that did not pit. So I'm wondering if there's some strategy calls and some research being done here as well.
Yeah, seeing a little bit of research, seeing what's going to work and what's not. Speaking of what's going to work and what's not, it could get a little spicy up here in row number 1. Now, Vrabel and Millerin are going to restart side by side here for the restart. Both of these guys battling for the Alumni Championship. So a lot at stake here on this restart as Vrabel's in the grass.
Oh, buddy, what are you doing?
Something about these pace laps are throwing the league for a loop here tonight.
Pretty sure.
Luckily,
pretty
no
sure
one's
iRacing,
collected.
Pretty sure iRacing already came out and said touching grass is illegal.
Yeah, not recommended. That's for sure.
Not recommended. Anyway, field is stacked up 2 by 2 once again. Pace car takes that hard left on pit road. I think I saw a little drifting there out of the driver. But the field coming to the green flag. You can see it in the air. Barney throws the green, and we are back to racing at Indy, and Jeremy Millerin did not get a good restart at all.
Yeah, he's already under attack here from the 696 and Jake Drew. Robbie Vrabel launching like a rocket. He's already got 3 car lengths over the battle for second, and if they remain side by side, that gap would likely only continue to grow. Zach DeWale here bottled up between the two of them. He might look all the way to make it 3 wide. Instead, he will just follow Jake Drew and try and get a little bit of draft help to shove him past that 100 of Jeremy Millerin. And as they dive into 3, it is Drew and Millerin once again side by side, as they've spent a good bit of this race as already.
Yeah, these two have been going at it really since about lap 15. This is a battle that still has not finished entirely between these two drivers, as Jake Drew is able to come away with the position through turn 4. But Jeremy Millerin and Zach DeWale, they're going to have something to say about this before all this is done. They've got the draft down the front straightaway. Here's Millerin to the inside of Jake Drew. Can't quite get alongside, and neither can Zach DeWale, as DeWale maybe backs off just a hair to let these two do their thing in case they touch. But Jeremy Millerin going to try and take another look down the back straightaway.
Yeah, he'll probably get a good run up the back with the draft that you can get on these nice three-quarters of a mile straightaways on the front and back stretch, so he might take a look to the inside. Looking a little farther back, though, it looks like everyone's kind of settled in for the moment. Right there, that's the battle for 5th between Jason Willott and Rhett Crane. Rhett Crane slowly trying to work his way back up front. Athena Leclerc here battling with Brandon Schulenberger and Matthew Nordberg. That is for the 9th, 10th, and 11th position. Meanwhile, Edwin Onofre and Esteban Munoz have found each other on track once again. That could be interesting after a little bit of a run-in on the restart there a few laps ago, as Tim Robb now slides in trying to make the move on that FIU Esports car.
Yep, Tim Robb to the inside, and as I look a couple of spots forward, I see Andrew Williams and Jared Kaler have worked their way almost back inside the top 10. Athena Leclerc in that St. Clair car is the last car in the top 10, so those two drivers still looking for their first win in the season. Andrew Williams looking for his first CiL College Cup Series win, but Jared Kaler, current reigning series champion, has yet to find victory lane this season, and he is on the bubble right now. Now, granted, he's 46 points to the good, so he could have not showed up today and still be in the playoffs at Talladega. But you got to know Jared Kaler, with his pride on the line, is definitely looking to return to victory lane this season and seal the deal to get his way into the playoffs.
That also implies you're confident you're not going to lose points at Talladega, which I'm not much of a betting man, but I would not bet on Talladega going smoothly for anybody, just the nature of the beast over there. So definitely trying to make something happen here, but still has some work to do. As right now, this is a battle between Jacob Weist and Andrew Morrill, a couple of drivers. Oh, and Brad Daniels, 3 drivers, all in the alumni division here in CiL. They're all duking it out. This is the battle for 18th, 19th, and 20th, as they are a 3-car pack as they're going to dive into turn 3. Burles by Weist, and now Daniels side by side with that UNC Charlotte car as they round through turn 3, going up the short chute toward turn 4. And it looked like Andrew Stagey got loose coming off the corner. I don't know if he was able to save it. Looks like
yes,
he
did.
was, but he is going to have to take the that warning track and try and rejoin there. That's going to cost him a couple of positions, but a great save by the Ball State driver there to not damage the car.
That was an incredible save. I got to go see a replay of that, because that car was completely sideways coming off of turn 3, at least in the little glimpse we got there. Is a little too tight right there for Jacob Weist. He makes contact with the outside retaining wall coming out of turn 1. We're going to do a little CiL rewind here. Look how sideways that thing is coming off the corner. Right when the banking falls off.
He got very, very loose. Luckily able to keep it in, keep it forward, and just takes it right down there to the warning track, and able to keep it in one piece here. As right now Jake Drew gets very loose coming off of 4. That thing was shaking all over the place, but Jake Drew right now in second, only half a second behind our leader, Robbie Vrabel Jr. Right now, though, Jeremy Millerin trying to reel back in the 696. This is the battle for second place. Jake Drew in his 3rd race so far on the CiL calendar, or second or third race in the CiL calendar. We've seen him a couple times as he continues to try and hold off Jeremy Millerin. The highest running student at the moment is Zach DeWale back in 4th, and then Jason Wallet back in 5th. That is your top 5: Vrabel, Drew, Millerin, DeWale, and Willott.
Doing us old guys, the alumni, proud today. Another wiggle there out of the 696. Looks like Jake Drew's fighting a really loose race car at the moment, uh, possibly due to some old tires and how he's been driving maybe. But we're going to see if Jeremy Miller can take advantage of that. But obviously Jake Drew, a very skilled driver. He knows how to drive just about anything in every condition. So we're going to see how this develops over in the next about 10 laps or so. For these drivers up front, when they come to the stripe this time, it'll be 35 laps out of 80 complete. The pit window will be open. So we're going to hopefully keep an eye out for green flag pit stops coming in about the next 5 or 6 laps or so to start those green flag laps. But a great shot here down the back straightaway. You can see all those cars single file, the draft chains. But at the front of that train is the 6 of Rhett Crane, also running in the 6th position, but he's got his teammate R. Muhammad Alif behind him, and you know those two are working together to keep the rest of the field behind.
Yeah, they've got quite the pack settling in behind them. The top 5 have broken away from the rest of the field here. This is, 6th place here. Rhett Crane is almost 4 seconds behind the leader in Robbie Vrabel. So this is where the majority of the action is right now. It's Connor Levy all over the back of R. Muhammad Alif. These two have had their battles so far this season, most notably that great finish in Darlington. We'll see if they keep it clean this time, or one of them will dive in and the other.
Yeah, Connor Levy and R. Muhammad Alif both finished that race sideways for 1-2 at the line. And it wasn't the only sideways finish of the season. We did it again a week later.
Yeah, Darlington and Vegas both gave us quite the classic as far as cars spinning to the line, and then Watkins Glen gave us a classic as far as just good competitive driving for the teammates. As looks like, who was that? I think it was Blair who just kind of blipped out of existence for a moment there. Hopefully that doesn't persist too much, because I know, especially at high-speed tracks like this, one of your worst nightmares is if the car is around you, start blinking, you're like, oh God, where are they going?
For those who are unfamiliar, that blinking is iRacing's way of dealing with unstable internet connections. So if your connection drops for a couple seconds, iRacing will completely remove your car from the game so that you don't hit anything else and nobody else runs into you. And then when that connection is reestablished, you'll be dropped back into the game, racing as usual. So whenever you see a car blink out like that, that's usually a temporary internet issue, but it looks like she was able to get that fixed, or it resolved itself. She was able to get back in, but now we're taking a look at this gap between Jake Drew and Robbie Vrabel Jr. for the lead, and that gap is coming down ever so slightly. I think the biggest lead I saw Vrabel pull out to was about 0.7 of a second, and you can see that on lap 33, and now 4 laps later, that gap has shrunk to just over a quarter of a second.
Yeah, he is definitely closing in, only about 2 car lengths behind the 075 now. This is the closest anyone's been all night on an extended run to making a move on Robbie Vrabel Jr. And as he gets this great draft down the backstretch, he might be able to look at something going into turn 3, but he might just be a little too far away for it. So he'll settle back in, maybe thinking about making the front stretch his opportunity to attack going toward turn 1. Because that 696 car for Fullerton College, very large in the mirror of Robbie Vrabel Jr. right now. Robbie Vrabel does have a win this season, but does need a good points finish in order to secure himself into the top 20 in the points. Jake Drew was still looking for his first CiL victory of the season, I do believe, so this could be quite the battle here for the lead.
Millerin was a little slow. He did not get a good exit off of turn 4 that time by, and I think Zach DeWale was able to get around him. Yes, Zach DeWale has resecured that 3rd position and is going to be marched, hopefully for him, to be marching up toward the front of the field. But Jeremy Miller now coming under fire from the 76 of Jason Wallet. So we've got the top 5 all fighting with each other right now, as we're going to keep an eye on both of these battles. But looking a little bit behind, we've got some great battles for that 6th position. R. Muhammad Alif able to get by his teammate in Rhett Crane. Rhett Crane now coming under fire from the 14 of Connor Levy, and that's just the start of this train, this battle for the sixth position. And Jeremy Millerin is going to lead the pack in our first green flag pit stop out of our leaders to come down pit road for service, and that is going to be raising alarm bells for everybody up front. Now the fun begins.
Yeah, now the question becomes, how many more laps are you willing to risk it before you too dive in? And with the cars who pit about 12, 13 laps to go, they're sitting there, they're laughing, they're ready to jump in and get some of these lead positions where the leaders come into the pit lane here. As right now, Tim Robb in a fierce battle with Athena Leclerc. This is the battle for the 8th position. As Robb thought about maybe diving in on turn 3, elects against it, will settle in behind the tire tracks of the 61 car from St. Clair College and stay right in the shadow of that car as they come through turn 4, looking to potentially strike coming down the front stretch. Doesn't look like anyone in the top 10 elected to come down pit road and join Jeremy Millerin that time around. So Millerin still so far the only one to come down pit road. Other cars thinking they might be able to stretch it a couple more laps before it's time for them to join him as well.
And this is going to be really interesting to see. I'm going to be curious as to Millerin's lap times compared to the rest of the top 7, or excuse me, the top 17 that did not pit. Now remember, everybody outside that top 17 did come to pit road. We've seen a few movers come up inside. A few cars on new tires have gotten into the mix with the cars on old tires, but nothing too out of the ordinary. So Millerin with much older tires than the leaders and slightly newer tires than the cars that did pit. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of lap times he's putting up, although he is surely, if not one lap down at this point, he's going to be very close to it.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of work to do, especially if there is no caution here. It might take him some time. Looks like another car was coming down pit road there. Not sure who that was.
Is that I think that was the 09 Interesting Motor, the Cal car, just coming for service.
He did come down pit road earlier to repair some damage on that inside, so might something might still be bugging that car. As Jake Drew now side by side with Robbie Vrabel, they are battling for the lead here, just past the halfway point. Jake Drew streaming down the inside. He's going to slide up ahead of Robbie Vrabel, and he has taken the lead here. Fullerton College takes to the lead here on lap 41 and automatically trying to drive away from Robbie Vrabel Jr. We'll see now that he is no longer in the clean air here if Vrabel will have anything for the new leader.
Yeah, Jake Drew comfortably out front at this point. Robbie Vrabel behind by about 5 or 6 car lengths. Jake Drew put Vrabel in the dust there down the front straightaway. Had a great run out of the corner, was able to perform a great pass into the corner that time. But it'll be interesting to see when these two drivers to come down pit road. I think their window is going to open up here very, very shortly, as I don't think we've had many other takers come down pit road since Millerin. So maybe Millerin on an off strategy in that Purdue car.
He is still on the lead lap, but he is scored 31st at the moment, 44 seconds off, and lap times around that 53 to 54 second mark. So he is still has plenty of ways to go, but obviously all these cars will still need to pit at some point. There's a bit of a wiggle there from the 696, but he keeps it forward, and he'll keep trucking along down the front stretch here. Robbie Vrabel starting to slowly slip away. He is 4/10 behind the leader.
And I think you said it right. Dirty air. This is the first time in this entire race that Vrabel has had to deal with dirty air, because he's led every single lap except for the last one. Excuse me, the last 2. So he's got a new challenge to face with Jake Drew dirtying up his ever so precious clean air that he's had all race. So it'll be interesting to see how Vrabel can cope with that, and hopefully stay on the tail of Jake Drew here and not let him ride off into the sunset.
Yeah, the pit cycle is going to be what really shakes things up here if there's not a caution, because you could gain or lose a lot of time on pit road. And as we're seeing here, an interesting note, you can take a look. Jeremy Millerin on that lap with fresh tires, only about 7/10 faster than Jake Drew, and then about 5/10 faster the next lap. So you're definitely seeing a noticeable increase with fresh tires, but not nearly as big as a gap as I would have personally expected, honestly.
Yeah, I would have honestly, I would have expected that to be in about the
like the 1.5
one
mark,
and a half. Yeah, the 1.5 second range. But I think a lot of these drivers are doing very, very well at conserving their tires, despite all the starts and restarts that we've had so far in this race. Maybe it also could be attributed to the weather conditions as well. I know it's a pretty nice day out there in virtual Speedway, Indiana. So. Not too hot of a track, not too cold either, but it seems like these drivers have done a great job of conserving their tires, maybe not pushing them to the absolute limit, but doing enough to get the job done. But Jake Drew is still slower than Jeremy Miller and some of these drivers that have come in for new tires of service.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Someone locked up coming in. That was Esteban Munoz. Really scorched the tires coming down pit road there. Him and Kaler RM, we know these two like working together. Maybe they wanted to give each other a bit of a drafting partner here coming off of pit road, the way you'd see at Daytona or Talladega. So a couple more cars starting to funnel their way in. I see Ryan Wilson, or Austin DeLong is also on pit road at the moment. So it's just, you have a smattering of cars here or there who are starting to come down, but it hasn't been one big rush like personally I was expecting. I was kind of expecting like the moment someone comes in, everyone's coming in. But it seems to be a bit more just kind of like, all right, I guess I'll come in now. And it's been like a couple cars a lap at this point. As we are taking a look here with Jeremy Miller, who kind of led that charge down pit road a few laps ago. He's starting to slowly work his way back up the field as other cars are coming down pit road. Now the leader, Jake Drew, come down pit road.
Here we go.
That will cycle Robbie Vrabel back up to the point here on lap 46. So now the game is truly afoot between the two leaders. Who will cycle out ahead, and will maybe Jeremy Miller cycle ahead of the both of them with that really early pit? We will have to see how that affects him.
I think I saw the 0-2 of Zach DeWale down on pit road as well, who came in behind Jake Drew. So maybe a late call. He saw the leader come in and decided to come with him. But Jake Drew going to come out of his pit box here. We're going to see where the car of Robbie Vrabel is as they come around, and we're going to pay close attention to these lap times if Vrabel does not come into pit road. So this is an interesting call by Vrabel to stay out if he doesn't come in this time. Maybe he's going to try and pray that there's a caution that comes out that'll let him come down and get service.
So there's Miller. So Jeremy Miller, I think, has cycled out about 8 car lengths or so behind Jake Drew, but he is at full speed, so he might be able to close in a little bit more. This is partially the battle for the lead, as he was around the top 3 or 4 cars when they came in the pit. Now Robbie Vrabel into his box, as is Zach DeWale. So now the battle is truly afoot to see who is going to get the better run here out of the corners. As Jake Drew sideways coming out of 4. And he is now all over the back of Tristan Yoder, trying to use him as a bit of a draft pick. Now looking to the inside here of the 09. The 09 going to go wide, letting Drew and Miller in by. There's Robbie Vrabel cycling out. Vrabel loses out big time in that exchange. He is going to be well behind Jake Drew and Jeremy Miller. So when this all cycles through, I think it's going to be the 696 and the 100 who have cycled up to the point.
Yeah, that was not a good pit stop there for the St. Clair cars of Robbie Vrabel and Zach DeWale. Those two did not have a good pit stop, and they lost out big time by at least a couple of seconds. And you're right, I think our battle for the lead at the moment is going to be between this 696 and the 100. So 2 alumni duking it out for the win right now at the CiL 200 at the Brickyard. We are approaching lap 50. This will be 49 at the stripe. So over halfway through this race, but still a lot of racing to go in this crown jewel race on the calendar. 2 races to go, or well, about 1.5 races to go until we cut our field to the top 10 for the playoffs. Here's the look outside Robbie Vrabel Jr.'s windshield. You can see the Cal car with that red bumper up ahead, and then the 2 in front of him. Those are the leaders. That is,
will be the leaders.
They will cycle back to the lead. Right now, the race lead does belong to the number 5 of Tim Robb from American University, with Clint Halterman all over his back bumper at the moment, only 2/10 off. Edwin Onofre, Jacob Wiest, Jake Cummings, Andrew McCall, Andrew Stagey, Nick Stockner, Garrett Vighton, and Ethan Head, the next to cycle through to their pit stops before Jake Drew reassumes the lead with.
And a lot of those drivers were the guys who pit at lap 27. So they might not cycle through for quite some time here. So if there's a late caution, that could really benefit the guys in the top 10 right now, keeping some of the faster cars back 30 seconds behind them. However, with everyone as stratified as they are at the moment, it could be, you might not be able to rely on that caution, and you might just have to hope you either can go the distance or something crazy happens, because if you have to pit here under green, there is no shot you're going to be able to still cycle out to the lead.
Well, I'm thinking back to the lap time delta that we saw between Miller and Vrabel a couple laps ago, that is both a blessing and a curse for these drivers that came in and pitted, because on the positive side, you know that you're not going to be really, really slow compared to the drivers that just pitted in about 20, 30 laps or so when you're at the end of this race. But that also means for those drivers who pit, or for some of those drivers who did pit earlier, they had a lot of work. They would have had a lot of work to do to catch back up to the guys that did, especially Jeremy Miller. And if a caution had come out, he would have been completely out of luck. As here you see Tim Robb coming down pit road, going to lock up that right front tire. And you can see just how late that commitment cone is for pit road speed limit. It's almost all the way onto pit road. It is all the way onto pit road. So Tim Robb able to get it slowed down and going to make his service. That is going to cycle Clint Halterman to the lead now. Edwin Onofre 3.5 seconds back. We saw him involved in that incident with Esteban Munoz. I believe that was on lap about 15 or 16 or so.
Yeah, roughly.
Towards the start of this race. So good to see that Onofre was able to get that car repaired and is now going to hopefully challenge for the lead. But at the moment, it is a runaway for Clint Halterman, as he's got a pretty decent gap on the rest of the field. Here's a look at Jared Kaler running inside the top 20, but he's got his friend Esteban Munoz right behind him in that 9 machine. He was able to get his car repaired as well. These two are pretty infamous in the CIL for always working together. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. They're going to work together at every single track they go to, whether it's a plate race, whether it's a short track. These two guys are on the same wavelength. They're teammates outside of the CIL, and they're pretty good friends as well. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how these two fare in the long run.
Yeah, so this is one of the only settings where they're not technically teammates, these two. There's a lot of other things they're a part of. They work together. So a lot of that carries over here to the CIL, and it's helped to create a great working relationship between UNC Charlotte and FIU Esports. Right now, though, Edwin Onofre 1 second ahead of Jacob Wiest, one of the few cars who have not come down pit lane yet after Clint Halterman came down pit lane. So the 99 from North Texas has taken control of the lead for the moment. And now it's just a matter of how long can you go before you either get lucky with a caution coming out, or if you just say, all right, well, we took a gamble, it didn't work out, and now we're stuck in the back. But right now, it is the 99 of North Texas in control.
And there's the gap that we expected to see earlier when we were checking on Milleren's lap times. You can see Edwin Onofre about a second and change slower than Jake Drew, who has cycled his way back up to the 9th position. Robbie Vrabel Jr. was able to get around Jeremy Milleren. Milleren now relegated to the 11th position. So Vrabel about 2.5 seconds back off of Jake Drew. We're going to check in on this battle in a little bit when they cycle back up to the front and see who will reassume the lead. But for the time being, it's Edwin Onofre out front at the point. Jacob Wiest, a second and a quarter behind him. Jake Cummings, then Nick Stockner has worked his way back into the 4th position after that end-of-line penalty earlier in the race. And then Garrett Vighton, Andrew Stagey, Ethan Head, Timothy Wilms, I believe, are the only cars out on track who have yet to pit in this cycle. But Jake Drew is very eagerly wanting some of these pitted cars to get out of his way. You can see he's only 2 seconds back from Timothy Wilms in that 86. So dirty air going to be a problem for both him and Vrabel as they're fighting for the lead.
Yeah, he is very quickly starting to cut down that gap. Only a few laps ago, it was closer to 30 seconds. Now it's only 20. He is chopping over a second a lap off of the leaders. However, I mean, that still means you're looking at least like 10, 12 laps to get up toward the front here without a caution, which leaves plenty of opportunity for something to go wrong throughout the field. But in the meantime, they are just going to keep trucking along. These guys up in the top 7 or 8 here, they more or less have made their bed. Now it's time to lay in it and see if it was the winning strategy or if they're going to be in trouble.
As we've got a little lull in the action, we're not covering battles all over the field. I think it's time for another CIL full send. Producer Scott, let's let it rip. All right. Edwin Onofre still out front at the time being. He has yet to come into pit road on this cycle, but hopefully he will be in very soon. He does have to come in by the end of the race, so I believe by my calculations that about 10 laps to go is going to be his time to come in. There you can see the pit stop strategy quite varied throughout the field. A lot of numbers there to break down, but we can see most of the drivers did come down on lap 25 during that caution. Jason Blease, Jake Cummings, Nick Stockner, Garrett Vighton, Ethan Head, Timothy Wilms. So half the top 10 they came down pit road already during that cycle. Or excuse me, no, that's the most recent cycle. Sorry. I can't read charts.
Yeah, but I mean, you make a great point where a lot of these cars up front, they did come in at lap 25. The first cars who came in earlier were Jake Drew and Ryan Vale. If I'm looking at that right, has Andrew Stagey just not pit just entirely?
Yeah, he's yet to pit this entire race.
Okay. Producer Scott's saying that SDK is just being a little uncooperative, and he has, in fact, pit around lap 25. I'm about to say, that'd be a superhuman effort from the driver of the 13 if that was the case.
That would be an absolutely ridiculous strategy that I'd be very impressed if he's worked his way up to 6th with that strategy. But here you see Garrett Vighton all over the back bumper of Nick Stockner. This is a battle inside the top 10, so very, very important for these two drivers. Nick Stockner obviously still looking for his win, but he's also looking to be in the top 20 for playoff eligibility as well.
Yeah, and not to overshadow the battle there, but as we looked at that battle on the backstretch, you could see creeping off of turn 2, there is Jake Drew, the car who's supposed to be, in theory, going to cycle back to the lead here when everyone pits, as Edwin Onofre finally brings it down pit road. That gamble there not quite paying off as things get a little tight for the 696, trying to get around Ethan Head in that 8 car. Almost a bit of a tricky situation there, but he's able to clear it and will make the pass going down the front stretch, diving into turn number 1. With 22 laps to go, only a handful of cars remain between Jake Drew and reclaiming the lead, and those cars are Jacob Weist, Jake Cummings, Nick Stockner, and Garrett Vighton. Only 4 cars standing in the way at the moment. Jake Drew, though, still with plenty of room to go to try and catch up if none of these guys come down pit road. He is still 12 seconds off from the lead, but if they pit, obviously that gap would shrink in an instant.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how these final 22, now 21 laps shake out in the Brickyard 200. A lot of different strategies, a lot of different driving styles at play here. As I think we saw Dylan Godinez going to work on the 95 there into turn 1, but here is Jeremy Millerin now coming under fire from the 0-2 of Zach DeWale. This is for the provisional 3rd position when everything cycles back out. And you know these two still looking for their first win of the season. Everything's on the line for these two drivers as they look towards the playoffs in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right now DeWale in on points but could secure it with a win. Right now, Millerin not in on points. He would need a victory. He's having a great points day right now, but a victory would be the thing that gets him into the playoffs at this point, I'd have to imagine. So this is a very critical battle for the 3rd position here, or at least that's what it will be as it cycles out, as DeWale now dives to the inside. He's looking to make the pass here on Jeremy Miller and looking to the inside on turn number 3. He's got half a car length ahead as they roar around the corner, and he will clear the 100 as they slide off a 3 onto the short chute, and he has claimed the provisional 3rd spot here with only 20 laps to go.
Yeah, Zach DeWale late on the brakes there to try and get that pass to work. A little slide there out of the 100 coming out of turn 4. You can see the flames shooting out of the sides of these cars as they lift off the gas going into the corner. And both of them actually DeWale shot flames a little later than Millerin despite being on the inside. So DeWale knows he's got newer tires. He can get around Millerin, and now he's going to start his charge up to the front, but that all depends on whether or not he can catch Jake Drew, as I think I saw the 42 and the 124 just up ahead of Jake Drew fighting for position. Neither of those cars have come down for their service on this cycle, and Drew is catching up to them very quickly, but he's not going to expect either of these cars to let him by, as this is a battle for position on the track.
Yeah, Jake Drew. Oh,
Big
little
slide.
dicey there off of 4. He gets ahead of Viten and now slides in behind Nick Stockner. He has gotten himself back into the top 5. It looks like Andrew Stagey finally brings it down pit road. Jake Drew diving in the turns 1 and 2. He'll make the move on Nick Stockner for 4th. And now, for 3rd. And now it's just Jake Weist and Jake Cummings, or Jacob Weist and Jake Cummings up ahead of Jake Drew at this point. A lot of Jake and variants up in the top 3 right now.
Yeah, for real.
Took me a second, and then I started reading the names. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah, Jake Drew has a lot of pace compared to these other drivers inside the top 10 in front of him that have not pitted, so it shouldn't be very long before he catches up to our current leaders. But you got to be thinking about Robbie Vrabel Jr. and Jeremy Miller in behind him, or I guess Zach DeWale now. Over Miller, since he was able to take that position away. But you could see Robbie Vrabel Jr. coming out of turn 4 about 5 or 6 seconds behind Jake Drew. So a lot of work to do and a big hill to climb for Vrabel if he's trying to get the win done here today. Excuse me, 2.5 seconds is the gap. 5.
One of the things that I feel like might be interesting to point out here, 3 cars entering this race were tentatively into the playoffs on points. That was Jared Kaler, Zach DeWale, and Andrew Williams. Kaler and DeWale having a pretty decent day here. Andrew Williams, though, has not had too strong of an evening. I think he's currently running in the 19th position after qualifying in the mid-20s. So that driver for Clemson, that number 23 car, definitely needed a good points day, as he was the 10th guy of 10 currently entering this race. And, running in the top 20 isn't horrible, but considering how tight the threshold is here, running 18th, really I don't think it's going to cut it, because then you're going to put yourself into a very tricky position going into Talladega.
Yeah, Jake Cummings at the moment is 25 points beneath Andrew Williams right now, and he is running in the 2nd position in this race. So Jake Cummings and Wingate going to make a huge, going to make up a ton of ground to that Clemson car of Andrew Williams in the playoff standings, and maybe even knock the 23 machine out of provisional points as well, especially if we get a new winner today, although that would depend on Jake Drew. If he cycles back up to the lead, that would depend on him being in the top 20 to be playoff eligible. But with 2 very good finishes, we're going to have to see how that would all shake out, as he's now only got Jacob Weist to go. Jake Cummings has come into pit, so the 95 will lose a lot of ground once again to the 23. And for Andrew Williams, that's the best thing you could have possibly seen. And a lot of cars coming down to pit. I saw Stockner in the 42 as well.
Yeah. Speaking of important points battles here, this is a battle between 2 of the 3 cars very much in contention for the student championship. Jared Kaler in that green number 1, Jason Willott in that blue and yellow number 76. I believe entering this race they were 1st and 2nd in student points, so this is a critical battle on track here as they try and chase down Jeremy Miller, who is dipping and weaving all over the backstretch trying to break that draft.
Yeah, Jeremy Miller has got his hands full right now. Those older tires are haunting him, which I didn't think we would see to this degree, but you can see Jared Kaler just how quickly he pulls up to the back of the 100. And Alex, I'm thinking back to last week where Kaler and Miller were going at it all over, and actually Miller is in the wall. Oh no!
That's almost certainly gonna bring out the caution, just as Jake Drew had cycled to the lead.
Oh boy!
So the cars who stayed out to try and win the pit strategy cycle just couldn't quite hold on long enough. Jake Drew, luckily for him, moves into 1st right as the caution comes out. Absolutely, though, going to change the dynamic of the end of this race, as for all intents and purposes, I mean, Jake Drew was 3 seconds ahead of Robbie Vrabel, and he was gone.
Oh man. You can see Kaler to the inside of the 100 there. And was there contact? There might have been a slight little nudge from the 1. Maybe some payback for last week when Miller and Kaler were fighting for the lead. Miller pushed the 1 of Kaler out of the way, shot him way up the track and out of the top 10 for the lead. Maybe a little bit of response there from the 1.
Maybe. We'll have to take a closer look. The other thing I noticed, Millerin nearly saved that and then just tried getting on the throttle a little too quickly when the car wasn't fully straightened out yet. And that's what actually sent him back down into the inside wall here. On board with Jared Kaler as they come out through turn 4.
You can see both the cars coming up the track. Kaler, I guess.
Looks like there might have been a little bit of contact.
Millerin had a little help going down toward that inside wall, but I guess Kaler thought he was clear, and Millerin not able to get any traction at all with those overheated tires, and is parked dead on track to bring out the caution. So this will be interesting for the live stewards to review, and of course we will update you as we hear something. We're going to take one more look at this incident relative to Millerin's car. You can see Kaler established on that low side. He's going to come up and just barely clips the bumper of Millerin. Millerin pretty much got it saved. And I'm not sure what happened there. It looks like he was having some trouble maybe with his steering, not the steering out of alignment.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I genuinely, because I've done this a lot coming off of pit road in these next-gen cars. I think if you just over-throttle it when you're not fully straightened out, sometimes you can just lose the back end there. So until I am proven otherwise, that is the running theory I'm going to go with. But everybody coming down the pit road here, at least for the people who didn't stay out super, super late. So this could be a critical pit stop for a lot of our leaders.
Yeah, this is the money stop. They're going to restart with 11 laps to go. Nick Stockner does get the free pass, so he will be able to unlap himself. Or he did not pit.
No, he pit right before the caution.
Wow, what a strategy call from the 124 of Nick Stockner.
That is going to
Dylan
Godinez as well. Jake Weist,
Andrew Stagey.
Yeah, a couple of cars are going to separate the historic leaders of this race thus far from actually leading here as they come to what'll probably be a restart with around 10 to go. So this could be absolutely fascinating to see how some of these guys operate running up front ahead of the previous leaders.
Jake Drew did win the race off of pit road, and I see Robbie Vrabel Jr., Jeremy Millerin, Muhammad Alif, the winners of the race off of pit road. But man, this would be the strategy call and possibly the luck cash out of the century if Nick Stockner and those cars up front are able to pull off something off here. But I think I see a couple of other cars who are either going to pit this time, being lap cars. Yeah, there you see Tristan Yoder coming in for his service, and then these other two, I believe, are going to take the waiver round to get back on the lead lap.
So, just an interesting hypothetical here. I'm not saying this is going to happen. But just something to keep in mind. While Nick Stockner is currently 29th in points, he is 39 points back of the cut line, which is currently Athena Leclerc. However, a win obviously gets you the most points. A shocking win here by Nick Stockner could potentially get him close enough on points and having that win, where a good finish at Dega could, in theory, sneak him in. I mean, he's a wells away off, but it's not an impossible deficit.
So what you're saying is it's possible.
I'm saying it's possible. I'm also saying it's unlikely because he still has some work to do. He's got some really fast hot rods behind him right now, and he's going to have to put some of the best defensive driving I've ever seen him do if he's going to want to hold on to this win, because he's got a lot of hungry drivers there with him, including another guy who I'm sure is also hungry for a win because he's very much in potential playoff contention. That's Jacob Weist in the 600 car there. He, I believe, is in the top 20. So a win here would be absolutely massive for the driver of the 600.
Weist is currently 14th in points. He sits 41 points below the cut line. So a win for him would lock him into the playoffs, and he would not have to worry about the Talladega race next week. And I think that's it's on the front of everybody's minds in this race, and we're going to see probably one of the most aggressive restarts we've seen all season, as I think they have tacked on another pace lap here. The stewards have.
Yeah, I think they needed to give a few more another lap for a few cars to get around, to get gridded up. This could be very interesting to see how this shakes out. They're going to restart with only 10 laps to go. The first 4 cars on barely used tires, everyone behind them on brand new tires. So I can't imagine running the whole, what, 3-4 laps is going to make a huge dent in it. So
Oh,
I think
not
they
at
have
all.
I think they have a fighting chance here at holding on to a decent finish. It's really going to come down to who's got the talent and who's got the motivation.
A lot of these drivers, up front are definitely motivated. But Nick Stockner and actually Dylan Godinez, as we've just been told, is on 20-lap old tires. So he's significantly down compared to the rest of the field. But Nick Stockner and
Andrew
that's the
Stagey and
600
Jacob
at,
Weist.
yeah, Andrew Stagey, the 600 of Jacob Weist. They're all on virtually fresh tires, and if we've seen anything from the information that we've gleaned over the course of the race about tire wear and lap times, it's that for 3 laps, that's almost no pace differential based on the tires. That is just going to be pure driver skill. So these 4 drivers up here may be on equal equipment per se, or relatively equal equipment, but
Yeah.
they have a lot of very hungry, very skilled drivers behind them. And by golly, I want these guys up front to get the job done because that would be the luckiest and most insane strategy call of the season. But the field is stacked up 2 by 2. The lights on the pace car are off. You see it head to pit road that time. Barney's got the green flag in hand. Nick Stockner, Clemson University, is the control car. Dylan Godinez to his outside. They're going to hit the gas, and we are back to racing at Indy.
And here they go, diving into turn number 1.
3 wide.
3 wide behind. That's already looking a little dicey.
Whoa,
and they're going to sort it out, I think, for the moment, but definitely still 3 wide behind. Now they're 3 wide again. Godinez gets launched up the track there by Jake Drew. There is absolute bedlam behind him as they try and sort this out. This is 3, maybe even 4 wide in some places back there. Stockner running from his life ahead of a 3 by 3 by 3 block behind.
And they are still 3 wide. That was DeWale, Alif, and Wallet 3 wide going into turn 3 that time. And you can see Nick Stockner and Jacob Weist are running for their lives right now. For not Jacob Weist. That's shoot, who is
Robbie
that? That's
Vrabel.
So
Robbie
Vrabel and Athena
Connor Levy sideways.
Connor Levy and Athena Leclerc involved, and Leclerc is going to come back on the track and just collect the 09 of Yoder. He just cannot catch a break.
The person who I think is going to be put in the biggest hole from this caution is going to be Nick Stockner. I mean, I think his best chance was just having that one-on-one battle with Robbie Vrabel up front with everyone else behind him. With another restart to worry about here, it could get a little tricky. But Connor Levy, Athena Leclerc goes around. And that, in particular, for Athena Leclerc is a particularly devastating moment in time to be involved in a caution here. Athena Leclerc was 20th of the 20 cars in the playoff eligibility list right now, just barely hanging on. So a potential win here or Dega could have been pivotal, but now we're going to find themselves in quite the points deficit here with a race and change to go.
Yeah, Athena Leclerc was 6 points to the good in eligibility over Brandon Schulenberger. But I'm looking at a couple of the cars that are behind her. Rhett Crane, Austin DeLong, Garrett Vighton, Dylan Godinez having good days today. So this is going to be interesting for Leclerc. And it looks like she would have been completely fine right there had she missed had the 09 missed her.
There was a little bit of contact off the inside with Connor Levy, but it wouldn't have been significant damage, but I think it got far worse with the introduction of coming back down the track a little bit and just clipping the 09. But Nick Stockner now is going to get ever so closer here with a couple of pace laps toward potentially his first ever CiL victory. But he's going to have quite his hands full as he no longer has a couple of those buffer cars like he did earlier. Now he's got Robbie Vrabel and Jake Drew breathing down the back of his neck. So it's going to be quite the experience, I think, for the driver out of Clemson if he's going to be able to hold on to this lead.
Counterpoint, if you're Nick Stockner, you're also thinking, man, can we keep these caution laps coming? I want as little green flag racing from here to the end of the race as possible because I do not want to have to fight these 2 behemoths behind me. And I think we saw there right before the caution was going to come out that both Vrabel and Drew had a very good run on the 124 down the front straightaway, and they maybe would have taken that lead away, but Nick Stockner is a driver that we don't talk about very often unless he's involved in a wreck. That's just kind of the season that he's had so far. He's been in the middle of the pack, middle back of the pack, seems to always be caught up in someone else's mistakes. An unlucky year for him, so this is going to be a major confidence boost for that 124 driver as he looks towards the rest of the season fighting for that alumni championship.
One other thing that's worth noting, Connor Levy, who was also caught up in that incident with Athena Leclerc, luckily for Levy, already has that win with his victory at Darlington and was currently 6th in the points, so he should be fine to stay in the top 20 for eligibility. He already has that win to lock him in, so definitely not the result that Connor Levy wanted coming out of Indy today, but in the grand scheme of things, he should probably be all right.
And a lot of these drivers, you may be in the top 20 at the end of this race, but as we go into Talladega next week, where literally everything can and will happen, I don't think any driver in the top 20, or really any driver from about 15th on back, is going to be a little uncomfortable going into that race. Especially if you're Robbie Vrabel Jr., where if you win here, it won't really matter much because that'll bump your points a lot. But for some of these drivers like Edwin Onofre, Andrew McCall, now Athena Leclerc, she was in the top 20 coming into this race. That might not be the case afterwards. They're going to be a little uncomfortable and extra careful at Talladega next week to make sure that they retain their top 20 eligibility. But a few drivers out of the top 20 who were having good days. Rhett Crane, I believe, is running in the top 10 for Ball State. Austin DeLong, he got involved in an incident early on in the race. Unfortunate for him. Garrett Vighton also having a pretty good day. Dylan Godinez as well, if he's able to hold on to this, he should come away.
He's currently running P5.
10.
Yeah, he's hanging in there on those older tires, but this is it. 6 laps to go. Stockner, Vrabel, Drew, and Andrew Stakey, your top 4. Who's it gonna be?
Pace car takes that hard left on the pit road. Stockner and Vrabel hit the restart zone. Stockner is going to need the restart of his life. He hits the gas. Barney throws the green, and we are racing for the win at Indy. And a good restart did he get.
Oh, they are smoke behind
trouble.
them. No,
And
there
it's
is
a
everyone
huge
being
crash.
collected in the 1 and 2.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, boy. This is going to take him right up to the one and only green-white checkered, I believe, that we have for CIL races. Nick Stockner probably jumping out of his seat right now.
No.
Jared Kaler involved in it. Potential major points implications there. Jeremy Miller involved. Jacob Weist. Oh, boy. I mean, there was a lot of good cars collected in that one there, Zach.
Massive playoff implications from that crash. You said it, a lot of good drivers involved in that crash. We're going to take a look and see what happened. It looked like it happened midfield. There was some 3 wide going into turn 1. Here's Jared Kaler.
Kaler already looks sideways. Oh, did he get hooked by his teammate?
Oh,
no. I'm glad that was in stereo. We had the same reaction. Off the nose of Jacob Weist, down and around he goes and takes part of the field with him.
And you can see Miller in around, McCall around. Couple of the Penn College of Technology cars got through relatively unscathed. Great driving. Andrew Burrell, another Clemson driver, also involved. But yeah, Weist and Kaler, not a good.
Oh boy, that is not what you want to see if you're Jared Kaler. Could we possibly, Producer Scott, the POV of Edwin Onofre? Don't know if that's possible at this point, but I have a feeling that he snuck through at the last moment.
Here's the 99 UNT Mean Green Machine. Oh, hold on. And the C's part.
Wow, that is a clench your cheeks kind of moment right there, but Edwin Onofre sneaks on by. What an... Wow.
Well done, sir. Well done. Great move.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, that can't draw it up any better than that or any closer than that. Jeez. But I think this is going to take us to a potential... It might take us to a potential green-white check. Are the lights already off? No, they're still on. So they're going to restart. with 2 to go, I think. It's just going to be green, white, and then the finish.
It's green, white, checkered, but it's not a green, white, checkered.
Yeah, that is true. So right now, the 124 of Nick Stockner still clinging by the slimmest of margins to the lead in the potential first ever CIL victory. Robbie Vrabel looking for win number 2 of the season. Jake Drew looking for win number 1, and then Andrew Stagey still hanging around in the top 5, I believe. So anything could happen here. If you're Nick Stockner, I understand it feels much better when you truly race it for the win. I wouldn't be, if I were him though, I would just be like, I don't even care. Have everyone pile up in turn 1 again. Just anything to get me to the end of this race.
Oh, absolutely. You take it any way you can get it. If you're in Stockner's position, where A, you have to race your way into the playoffs, but B, you've also got to race your way into playoff eligibility if you win this race. So this is, man, this is Nick. If you go back and watch this, you need to go buy a lottery ticket, buddy.
It's getting dicey, that's for sure. The real thing, though, you got to be careful if you're the leaders here, because I understand how much Robbie Vrabel would love to win this race. He's also barely above the playoff eligibility line, even though he has that win. So he can't afford to, potentially get wrecked and drop to the bottom of the standings here. He needs to make sure he brings this run home somewhere in the top 5, top 10. So this could be very interesting. Stockner, I think, might be able to be a little more aggressive if he wants to be, just because he really doesn't have anything to lose at this point. And then you have Jake Drew and Andrew Stagey behind, also guys who with nothing really to lose, so they can go full send for it. So there is so many ways that this could come down to a close, and I'm sitting here and I'm starting to feel those anticipation shakes. When you just tell something interesting is about to happen, something crazy is about to happen. I felt it at Darlington, you felt it at Vegas, and it's getting ever so closer.
I got to stand up for this one, man. This is going to be a great finish. But I'm looking at the standings. If you're Kaler, DeWale, or Williams before this race, you are pointing your way into the playoffs. The best possible outcome you can have right now is if Robbie Vrabel Jr. takes home his 2nd win of the season, because that does not lose any playoff eligibility spots for you. However, if Stockner wins, things get really, really crazy, or Jake Drew, or any of those cars behind him that are not in the playoffs, as the lights on the pace car are out. The pace car will take the hard left turn to pit road. It is Stockner and Vrabel with 2 laps to go at the line for the win and playoff eligibility. Green flag in the air. We're back to racing at Indy.
Stockner moves up the track a little bit, trying to take the line away from Vrabel. They are side by side going through turn number 1. Only 2 laps to go here. Little loose off of 1 and 2, but he keeps it forward. It's continuing to be side by side. It is the 075 of Vrabel. The 124 is Stockner. They both wash up the track a little bit, but the battle continues as they charge down the backstretch. Only 3.25 miles to go.
And Stockner got the better launch out of the corner, but Vrabel has Drew pushing behind. Stockner will lose the lead and go down into 3rd and come under attack from the 76 of Jason Wallet. But they are 3 wide off the corner between Wallet, Alif, and I believe that is that Weiss? No.
That is Clint Halterman.
That's Clint Halterman.
Our Watkins Glen winner. But with only 1 lap to go, 2.5 miles, Jake Drew now trying to move to the outside of Robbie Vrabel, looking to set something up here on the final lap. All over the back bumper here. Can he make the move? He's looking to the inside, coming up turn 1. Vrabel into the wall. Jake Drew pulling away by a wide margin now. Vrabel just trying to hold on to 2nd. Here comes Stockner to the back bumper. Jake Drew 4 car lengths ahead as they come out of turn 2. Can anyone catch him?
Crucial, critical mistake from Robbie Vrabel coming out of turn 1. He caught a piece of the wall, lost all of his momentum, and now is losing Jake Drew, the ARCA Menards West Series champion, in his mirror, and he's going to fall into the clutches of Jason Wallet and Nick Stockner. And Wallet and Stockner touch. Stockner goes to the inside. Are we going to stay green to the line? I don't think it's going to matter, though, because Jake Drew made the last lap pass for the win. He's going to come across the line and win the Brickyard 200.
Jake Drew, your winner. Robbie Vrabel hangs on somehow to 2nd. Jason Wallet rounds out your podium. Devastation for Nick Stockner, who gets loose coming off of turn 3 on the final lap. I don't know where he finished, but it's definitely not the result you wanted. Man, oh man, Halterman and Halif round out the top 5.
What a race for the win there. Wow.
Woo, yeah, that's like, you got to catch my breath for a second there. I thought we were going to really have a drag race coming off a 2, and then Vrabel just swings, or coming off a 1, and then Vrabel swings a little wide, gets into the wall, and Jake Drew just checked out. So Fullerton College takes the victory here in the penultimate race of the CiL Cup Series regular season.
And this will be, now this is interesting. There's playoff implications here with this win because Jake Drew won today, which means that if he breaks top 20 in eligibility, he will be qualified for the playoffs. However, will his win and his top 3 finish from Vegas be enough to punch him into the top 20, or will he have to come back and win at Talladega? This is going to be something really interesting that we'll figure out. So be sure to pay attention to our CiL social medias for updates as the points come out this week. But Jake Drew is going to bring it to the line, collect the checkered flag, and do a nice throw it across the track burnout in celebration of his victory tonight. Jake Drew from Fullerton College, your winner of the Brickyard 200.
That gave us everything we wanted and more. Some carnage, some green flag racing, and at the end, a last lap pass for the victory. We've had a couple of really good finishes, and I say this goes right up there with some of the best ones we've had this year so far, Zach.
I think we've had some of our best finishes in CiL history this season. It just the action always seems to come down to the last lap, and even to the last 100 feet or so, and this one came down to the last 2 miles. But an excellent, excellent finish right there, and we are going to try to get our top 3 into the booth for the interviews. Of course, Jake Drew's celebrating right now, and we're going to wait and see. We're going to wait for our drivers to get out of the cars to chat with them. And I'm wondering, producer Scott, if we can get a look at that contact between Wallet and Stockner in the last set of corners. What led to that Stockner spin? But you can see the leaders, Vrabel and Jake Drew, up ahead of them. It looks like Vrabel missed the apex of the corner, and he had a really tight race car, and that put him into the wall and sent him back behind the 696. Now Stockner and Wallet are fighting for position. Wallet's going to get to the outside of Stockner down the backstretch using the draft that he got off of exit, as Vrabel barely clears the nose of the 76 going up the track. Now these two are still side by side in turn 3. You see Stockner wash up a little bit, and it looks like both of those drivers went just a little bit wide, and Stockner got on the tail end, the unlucky end of that stick, and he lost a ton of positions in that last play.
Yeah, I mean, they're both fighting for third. I mean, that's a tough battle there. You don't want to give up any ground you don't have to. But both of them just, they went for the same spot. Stockner stood up a little bit more than he was able to, because Wallet was basically at the wall, and then just gets the worst end of that exchange. So tough break for the driver of the 124, who was putting together what could have been a spectacular finish here to Indy. But at the end, it was some of the cars who were the most dominant all day. They come home victorious here with Jake Drew, Robbie Vrabel, and, third place is completely escaping me right now.
Third place goes to Jason Wallet.
Yes. Yep. I was so engrossed with the battle for the lead, I completely forgot the battle for third.
And that lap 75 incident between the 600 and the 1 was deemed a racing incident, so no fault assessed for that caution.
All right. Well, I think it's just about time we start bringing in some of these folks for an interview, Zach. What do you say?
Let's do it. Let's go ahead and talk to our third place finisher. Jason Wallet, our Daytona 250 champ, finds himself back on the podium in the College Cup Series for Drexel University. Jason, congratulations on another great finish. It's great to have you back in the booth. We saw you have an up and down day all day. We saw the pit strategy. Take us through your day from start to finish. Kind of what was your strategy for success to get you back up on the podium and score some major points?
I don't think I had an up and down day. I mean, I remember that I was in the top 10 until pitting. I decided to do a one-stop strategy because with all the cautions, I figured that I could. Then around the caution around lap 60ish, I I took another pit stop to take tires, and then from there just ran my race and got ahead of people, took advantage of wrecks, and ran my way up to third.
Yeah, you put together quite the strong run at the end there, and with some other points permutations, the way they shook out, particularly I think a rough day at the end for the driver out of UNC Charlotte, Jared Kaler. I do believe that puts you currently in pretty decent position to retain the top spot of the drivers' point standings coming out of today. What is your strategy here going into Talladega, knowing that you're already locked into the playoffs and in a really good spot points wise?
Honestly, I'm just gonna focus on trying to get as many points for the student championships as possible.
All right. Well, congrats again on your P3 finish there, Jason. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out here before we let you go celebrate with your team?
Aside from you people, mom, dad, everyone else who helped me out with getting my sim rig and stuff, Drexel for letting this happen, Drexel Esports specifically. That's about it.
Alrighty, well. Oh, geez, I just dropped something that was large and glass. Anyway, not too important. That was Jason Wallet, our third place finisher here today from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Congrats again, Jason. Hope to see you again up here real soon. And I do believe that it is now time to bring in our second place finisher, Robbie Vrabel Jr. out of the University of St. Clair College. Robbie, solid day for you today, finishing up on the podium P2, but I'm sure if you had an opportunity, you'd like to go do that last lap one more time.
Yeah, of course. Jake had that car figured out. He was incredible. It took all the way up for him passing me under green, where I finally realized that he was shifting and I wasn't, and it just took me way too long to figure it out. And then the last lap, I saw he had such a run off of four, and I didn't shift. And I told myself I don't have a choice, like I have to. And I just missed a corner. That's my bad, but I needed it. I've run really strong the last 2-3 weeks and haven't had the results to show for it. So to be quite honest with you, I'm not even upset. It's just nice to actually finish a race again.
Well, Robbie, congrats again on another podium finish in the College Cup Series. We saw you up front for a pretty considerable portion of that race, but then when it looked like when Jake Drew and Jeremy Miller and got things going, they got right on by you. Take us through the progression of the car. Do you think it was due to like a track temperature changing conditions? Was it due to the tires? What was going on behind the wheel there? What was your opinion?
Uh, no, Miller never really had anything. Jake was the one who had it figured out. Uh, Early on, I mean, it just took Jake a while to get through traffic, I guess, because when he got to me, he had a lot more speed. And when he started working me over is when I finally, heard his exhaust and realized that he was shifting, and I went, "Oh, that's interesting." 'Cause I was just running fifth gear the whole time, and it just took me too long to figure it out. I was using a little too much brake when I started shifting, so I was slowing down too much. And then there towards the end of the race, I felt like I finally had it. I was gaining on him a little bit when I had fresh tires, but I wasn't anywhere near as consistent as I needed to be to get up there and challenge him. When I got the lead from Stockner there, I was hoping that I might have just enough time to keep him behind me, but he was so strong. There was no holding him up today.
Well, congrats again, Robbie. With your points haul today, I think I can say with confidence that you pretty much don't need to worry about Talladega to lock yourself into the playoffs by retaining your top 20 spot. So, one more question: how are you going to approach Talladega next week as the cutoff race?
That's an interesting one. I've still got three teammates that are fighting for a playoff spot, so I'll just try to help them as much as I can. And uh, for me, I'm a huge plate racing fan. I love Daytona and Talladega, and I also love being the guy pushing. I'm not so much the greatest when I'm out front leading, but I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think I'm a pretty damn good pusher. So my front bumper is going to get quite the workout next week.
Always the team player. Before we let you go, would you like to shout anyone out?
Absolutely. You guys, first and foremost, for doing the broadcast. Even when I wreck or have a bad race, I always go back and watch. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys doing what you do. Dan Banners from St. Clair College for everything that he does behind the scenes. McConey Setup Shop for everything that he does for me personally. My buddy Brian Johnson, I know he's watching. He watches all of these, and he always cheers me on and tells me when I have a bad race and supports me through and through. So, shout out to my buddy Brian, my mom, my dad, my girlfriend for allowing me to do this crazy hobby and just being on here to compete. It's a lot of fun.
Always got to shout out the significant other. I respect that. Congratulations, Robbie. Hopefully, we'll see you back in the booth either next week or in the playoffs. Hopefully, both.
Hopefully both. Sounds good. You guys have a great rest of the night. Take care.
You too, man. Catch you later. And I believe that will bring it. That will bring it up. Time for the man of the hour, Jake Drew, our winner here at the Brickyard 200. Congratulations on your win. You've only run one other race this season, and you almost won that one. Came back to get the job done. And if you wind up making your way in the top 20 in points, you are qualified for the College Cup Series playoffs.
Yeah, sorry I missed the beginning of that, but had a great time running tonight. That was a lot of fun racing with Robbie there. I always seem to learn a lot from the last two races running with him, and it's cool to get a win this weekend.
Congrats again on the victory there, Jake. I tell you what, you guys always seem to find each other on track whenever you're both in the race. It always seems like the 696 and the 075 seem to be running either 1, 2, 2, 3 somewhere up near the front there. I do have to ask though. I mean, you clearly had that thing dialed up tonight. Was there anything in particular you were doing you felt better than your competitors tonight, or is it just you were feeling really comfortable with the car?
No, I mean, I felt like I just had a pretty consistent rhythm that I could feel comfortable in. And I mean, honestly, once I got up to like third there in that beginning stage of the race, I felt like it was like a light switch. I just had so much pace and was able to get through Miller in and up to Robbie, and was pretty tough. That little bit of arrow wash there, the couple of 2-3 tenths, it was hard to get through that. And then it looked like he started to struggle just a little bit more, and I was able to get a good run. And he didn't fight me too much, which I respected, and knew there was a lot left in the race, and maybe he'd come back later on. But I was stressing there at the end for sure, the way all the pit stops worked out and everything. And but like I said, always learn a lot with racing with Robbie, and it was cool to make it to the end, have it clean, and we could all congratulate each other and have a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Jake is-
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
which one of us was picking that up. That's my bad.
One more question. Like I said, with the win tonight, you are locked into the College Cup Series playoffs. If you finish in the top 20, we're not 100% sure what that looks like. But if you wind up not making your way in the top 20 off of your win tonight, will we expect to see you back next week at Talladega?
As it looks right now, I should be running at Talladega next week. Just having a lot of fun on iRacing. Sadly, don't have a lot going on in the world of outside motorsports. So just trying to scratch the itch with some iRacing and learning a lot, and just having a bunch of fun with it. So even if I don't make the top 20, I hope to have another good week on next Monday.
Jake Drew, of course, the reigning ARCA Menards Series West champion, so he has a IRL career to attend to as well. But congratulations again on your win. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out and thank?
Yeah, thanks to you guys, of course, for putting the series on and the broadcast and everything. It's really cool. I moved across the country to Mooresville from Orange County, so my family back home gets to watch on YouTube and whatnot, and they get to check me out racing again. And of course, racing with my buddies Jared and Esteban. It's always a good time. Just having a lot of fun. So thanks to everybody.
Yeah, congratulations again, man. We'll hope to see you back up here again.
Thank you.
That was Jake Drew out of Fullerton College, your winner of tonight's CiL Brickyard 200. Jason Wallet finished third. He will take home the student class win for Drexel University. But Alex, let's get one final run through our standings before we go.
You bet. So it is Fullerton College and Jake Drew who pick up the win here tonight at the CiL 200 at the Brickyard. Robbie Vrabel for St. Clair College in second, and Jason Wallet in third for Drexel University and the student division winner. Those were the people we got to hear in the interviews earlier. Clint Halterman for UNC Charlotte brings it home in fourth, with R. Muhammad Ali for Ball State rounding out your top five. Esteban Munoz for FIU rallies back from that incident earlier in the race to finish sixth, along with Tim Robb from American University. He'll be seventh. Andrew Stagey puts together quite a run there at the end. That gamble to pit late pays off for him, and he finishes with a career best P8 finish for Ball State. Zach DeWale for St. Clair College brings it home ninth, and Jake Cummings for Wingate University with a really solid points day for him, bringing home 10th. That will make Talladega very interesting when that all shakes out. Jeremy Millerin for Purdue rallies back from that late caution to finish 11th. Bradley Daniels, the alumni winner from last week, finishes 12th. Andrew Williams rallied to a 13th place finish after a rough starting point on the grid for Clemson. Brandon Schulenberger for Wingate is 14th, and Edwin Onofre for North Texas, after that beautiful POV of him getting through the big wreck at the end, he finishes 15th. Timothy Wilms for Drexel will bring it home 16th. Ethan Head for the University of Tennessee Knoxville 17th. And Dylan Godinez, who gambled late on old tires. The gamble didn't quite pay off, but he did bring it home P18 for the Penn College of Technology.
Finishing in the 19th position. So we get a little update here. Come on, producer Scott. We love you. Finishing 19th. Oh, one more. There we go. Rhett Crane from Ball State University in that number 6 machine. Matt Nordberg will finish 20th for NC State. Andrew McCall, after being involved in a couple of incidents throughout the course of the day, rallies it back to 21st for Purdue University. Jared Kaler has a day to forget. 22nd after being involved in that late race collision for UNC Charlotte. Andrew Burrell, also involved in that collision, will finish 23rd for Clemson. His teammate Nick Stockner will finish 24th after spinning on the last lap after contact with Jason Wallet. Will finish 24th. Garrett Vighton, Arizona State in that 42, 25th. Matt Stawecki, James Madison University, will finish 26th. 27th goes to Austin DeLong, the 22 from Penn College of Technology. Jacob Wiest finishes 28th for UNC Charlotte. Athena LeClaire brings it home 29th for St. Clair. Connor Levy, 30th, Arizona State. Michael Sidor, 31st, Penn College of Technology. Treston Yoder in the Cal car finishes 32nd for Robert Morris University. Alexander Hogarth finishes 33rd for St. Clair. P34 goes to Ryan Wilson from Minnesota State Mankato. Matthew Burton finishes P35 for East Tennessee State. And P36 goes to Anthony Brown from Queens University of Charlotte. And Alex, we have 9 rounds out of 10 done in the regular season. The only thing that stands between our drivers and the playoffs is Talladega Super Speedway. And next week is going to be a ton of fun. But what can we take away from this week that maybe we can start thinking about for the rest of the season as we now look towards our playoff races?
The big thing that stands out to me is that, with the way some of these cautions can fall, anyone can find themselves out front. So the playoffs could get fascinating that way. But when you end your regular season at a place that is as much of a wild card like Talladega is, there is a lot of people who definitely put themselves in a bit of a hole today and might find themselves in a must-win situation next Monday. But Talladega is conducive to making a must-win scenario possible. So I think we're going to see an absolutely insane race next Monday because everyone is going to be fighting just that little extra bit harder for that little extra bit of traction, trying to pick up the win and potentially the final playoff berth.
Well, our penultimate round of the regular season is finished, and Jake Drew has presumably punched his ticket to the College Cup Series playoffs. So be sure to keep an eye out on CiL social media for those point standings to be released later this week. We'll keep a very close eye on that to see if he takes another spot away from our drivers who will need to qualify on points. So we can expect 2 or 3 spots still up for grabs before the playoffs start next week at what is shaping up to be the most chaotic, dramatic, and exciting race this season, the Alabama 160 from Talladega Superspeedway. For the drivers on the outside looking in, this is one last shot at a Hail Mary win and in. And for our drivers above the cutoff, this will be a race of survival. So be sure you don't miss what will be the most exciting race of the season next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern here on the CiL Twitch and YouTube channels. And if you can't wait for that and need some more CIL action in your life, be sure to tune in at the same time tomorrow night for the Formula C Canadian Grand Prix as our title fight between R. Muhammad Alif, Nick Daly, and Ted Burns heats up in round 5 of our open wheel series at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. And with that, I believe that is going to wrap things up from us tonight. So on behalf of the Collegiate iRacing League, myself and Alex in the booth and producer Scott, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in to tonight's Brickyard 200. And until next time, stay fast.